to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia Defazio, and I'm joined today by Prashant Sabapathi of Elite Income Advisors. Prashant, how are you today?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much for asking.
Yeah,
and you know I love saying your name, Prashant Sabapathi. It just rolls right off the tongue. It's my favorite name to say. I'm so looking forward to our show today, Prashant, because I know that you've been so incredibly busy. Obviously, let's talk about the new office that opened recently. Where is that?
So we just opened a brand new office. It's right off of Route 100 and Snowden River Parkway in Ellicott City. So, we house our entire team there. Beautiful big conference rooms and 80-inch TVs in every meeting for all of the folks to come in and see their plan in person and in color right in front of them. So it's been a tremendous transition from our old space, but our clients love it so far. All the viewers of the TV show come in and give us great feedback, and it's all been pretty much positive. So it's an exciting move for us. It's been a long time coming, and so through the pandemic, we kind of designed it out, and then we were able to move just more recently.
That is fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about what people are asking right now in terms of planning for retirement. Are you seeing different types of questions now versus, let's say, 3 or 4 years ago?
You know, I heard one person come in recently, and it really hit me what they said, because we hear all the same concerns for the most part. I'm concerned that I might live too long and run out of money. I'm concerned about the market. I'm concerned about leaving a legacy to my family when I'm gone. But someone came in the other day and they said something really interesting to me, which is, I'm afraid to live my life today because I'm not sure how it will impact my tomorrow.
Wow.
And no one had ever said that to me.
Yeah.
And that really stuck with me, and it really hit me. And I said, what does that mean to you? And she said to me, she shared with me, I just have no idea what the rest of my life looks like. How do you deal with things that you can't necessarily forecast, right? And so when we got into the planning process with her, we were able to put together an income plan that showed her how much income she was going to have coming in for the rest of her life. We were able to kind of talk about taxes and have a meaningful conversation regarding the what ifs, because she's right. No one has a crystal ball to know if taxes are going to go up or down or stay the same. But when you have a plan that has flexibility built into it, it allows you to adjust that plan depending on what's going on in the real world. So I guess she phrased it a different way that I hadn't heard before, and that really kind of hit me. But I wanted to share that with the audience because it's probably a pretty common concern that people go through. And that concern, to our viewing audience, it's natural that you feel that way. So we're going to offer you the opportunity to come in and visit with us, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. But that's one thing that really kind of stuck with me recently.
Well, most definitely. I think that we learned so much, Prashant, obviously, through the pandemic. We learned, again, that life is fragile and unpredictable.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, if you are sitting with a professional such as yourself, you're able to glean guidance from that person that allows you to have peace of mind in retirement. And that's really what it comes down to. That's what you do best.
Yeah, I love the phrase peace of mind. That's exactly what it's all about. It's making sure that when you put your head on the pillow at night, that you understand what your retirement is going to look like, at least from a financial standpoint, right? We always talk about not just retiring from something, but retiring to something. And in order to retire to something meaningful, you have to have an expectation of what you're going to have coming in on a monthly basis, whether or not it's going to be enough to live your most fulfilling lifestyle. And then you have to account for some of those other things that may be uncertain, whether it's the stock market, whether it's taxes, whether it's the threat of rising inflation, all completely valid, real concerns that everyday people need to worry about. And so that's what we've been able to help people with. And, I'm fortunate that we've had so many people come in to visit with us and work with us in that capacity.
Sure. And Prashant, if someone is in the viewing audience today and they're considering retirement, maybe they just wanted to spend more time with family, or they want to do things that they hadn't planned to do, how do they know that they're really ready? What types of questions should they be asking themselves specifically?
I'm a big believer that retirement is all about income first. Okay. So I'm sure we all have seen those commercials where there's a retirement number maybe floating over your head. And people always ask me, how much money do I need to retire? When do I know that I've saved enough to be able to retire the way that I want? And I always try to frame it from a different standpoint. Let's stop looking at things from the standpoint of how much money do I need, and let's start looking at it from the standpoint of how much income do I have to have coming in to live my best life. And I talk about this in my book, Fiscal Health, Retirement, Wealth, is we have to start by designing an income plan and identifying whether or not you have a gap in your retirement income. So there's a chapter in my book, Fiscal Health, Retirement, Wealth. It's called Solving the Income Gap. Okay. And that is a big part of the process. And so that's where we add up all of our sources of reliable income. Think about things like your pension, your Social Security. Maybe you have a rental property that's been kicking off a nice, dependable amount of income. I want to add up all those sources, compare those to your expenses, and find out whether or not you're short. And if you are short, that's where we can use your investment portfolio to essentially fill that income gap.
What are some of the things that would cause someone to have an income gap, Prashant? Why does that happen? So
one reason that I can think of is that you haven't collected your Social Security benefits in the most efficient way possible. Okay. So you have so many different options, whether you can collect it early, collect it at your full retirement age, or even delay. But one challenge that I see for people is they want to retire when they're 62 or 65 years old, but they don't want to start collecting their Social Security benefits until they're 67 or 70. And so in the early part of their retirement, they don't have a source of reliable income that they can depend on coming in because they're delaying their Social Security benefits. And so inherently that creates an income gap. And so the question becomes, with all the money that you've saved for retirement, however much that is, whether it's $250,000 or if it's $1 million or more, how do we use that portfolio and those investments to get you enough income to live the way that you want to live? And that's how we can help answer some of those questions. It's not about how much money you have, it's about how much income you have coming in. Prashant, I know you have a very special offer to present to the viewers at home today. Let's talk a little bit about what that is and then open the phone lines for the first time. Yeah, absolutely. So when you call in, pick up the phone, you dial 833-308-5200. And when you call in, you can schedule a complimentary visit with me and my team at Elite Income Advisors. Now, you should pick up the phone and call if you're concerned that you don't have a written plan in place that shows you how much income you're going to have for the rest of your life. You should absolutely pick up the phone and call if you are concerned that the market is volatile and you cannot afford to take a serious loss in your portfolio. These are some of the most common concerns that are faced by the folks that we visit with. That's why we offer that complimentary, no cost, no obligation visit to see whether or not you're a good fit to go through the financial planning process with us. And what it does is it helps take some of the mystery out of financial planning. So we're going to open that up for the first 10 callers who can call in today's show and get an appointment. It's 833-308-5200. We'd love to host you at our brand new offices, so pick up the phone and give us a call. Prashant, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 833-308-5200. Again, this opportunity is available to the first 10 callers only. If you have any questions about how to plan for your perfect retirement, Prashant is offering you the complimentary portfolio review. Again, 833-308-5200. We have to take a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, I'm going to talk to Prashant a little bit about taxes and how they can impact your retirement years. Stay tuned.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have. By running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no-obligation, full-blown financial review today.
And welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia Defazio. I'm joined today by Prashant Sabapathi of Elite Income Advisors. Prashant, a great show that we're having, and I definitely want to spend a little bit of time in this segment specifically talking to you about taxes, because I think across the board, people are always concerned about how taxes will impact them personally, their personal economy, if you will.
Yeah.
So I have to ask you, in your opinion, do you think taxes are going to go up in the future?
Look, nobody has a crystal ball, so it's truly impossible to predict. But let's just look at logically what's happened through the pandemic, right? We've seen the government unlock ridiculous amounts of money to pump back into the economy, to help people out with unemployment and things like that. And to me, as just a logical person, I got to believe that we have to figure out a way to pay for all of this. We can't just keep running up a crazy high deficit and have, trillions and trillions, I should say tens of trillions at this point, of national debt and expect that not to have some kind of impact on us at some point in the future. And so if taxes go up as a result, what we need to start thinking about is how we transition your retirement from a fully taxable retirement into a tax preferred or even a tax-free retirement. And that is where our conversation starts with regards to taxes. Yeah, taxes are low today, even though it doesn't always feel like it. They're definitely relatively low today. And so what steps can we take today while taxes are favorable to protect ourselves against taxes going up in the future?
What are some strategies that people can use, Prashant? I know we've touched on a few of those in the past, and one of them that people always talk about would be like a Roth conversion. Is that something that you talk to your clients about?
We get this a lot. What is the difference between a Roth conversion and a Roth contribution? So having a Roth IRA account is an account where you put money in on an after-tax basis. So when you put contributions into a Roth, they are not tax deductible. However, when that money grows, as long as you take a qualified distribution from your Roth IRA, it's actually going to be 100% tax-free. And anything that's tax-free, I love that, right?
Yes, yes.
The trouble is that with a Roth IRA, the government limits how much you can put into it, and they limit who can put money in. So if you're a really high income earner, you may not even be eligible to make a Roth IRA contribution. And that's why it's so important to take a look at Roth conversions, because anybody is eligible to do a Roth conversion, but you do have to pay the taxes when you make that conversion today. And so there needs to be some level of analysis done, probably in coordination with your tax advisor, to figure out whether a Roth conversion is an appropriate strategy for you. But I'll tell you what, it feels like this year we've done more Roth conversions than we ever have before, because nearly every single viewer on our TV program, even on my radio show, is concerned about taxes. So we've been doing a lot of Roth conversions this year.
That makes perfect sense to me as well. Let's talk a little bit about people that are perhaps taking their required minimum distributions. If you don't plan properly, Prashant, how can that be a tax time bomb, if you will?
Yeah, so tax time bomb on the RMD is a big deal, because when you take that required minimum distribution out of your pre-tax retirement accounts, your IRAs, your 401ks, all of that income is immediately taxable for you in the year that you took it out. And so if you have more income, that could increase your tax bracket. If your tax bracket is higher, you're going to pay more in taxes. It could affect how much tax you pay on your Social Security benefit. It could actually increase your Medicare premiums as well, because your Medicare Part B premium is based on the amount of income that you had from 2 years prior. And so there's really this domino effect that comes into play when we have the RMD, if it's not managed. And so going back to the Roth conversions, just want to make a quick point on that. Roth IRAs are exempt from having to take an RMD, a required minimum distribution. And so should we pay taxes today at a potentially lower rate so that we never have to pay taxes again and we never have to take an RMD, at least in current law?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect.
Yeah.
I know there are so many questions, obviously, surrounding taxes, if you will. What about people that are looking at estate planning? Should they be concerned about taxes, Prashant?
I think almost everybody should be concerned about taxes, both while you're living and when you pass away, especially if you're like a lot of folks that we've seen in our office recently. Maybe you've worked for the government, or you work for the state, or you work for your employer for 30 or 40 years, and you've always done what they told you to do, which is take part of your paycheck and put it into your 401k or your TSP. And we've seen so many of these folks have a lot of money in those retirement plans, but every dollar of it is actually taxable. And it's not just taxable while you're living, it'll also become taxable to your beneficiaries when you pass away. So when you have a true legacy plan and an estate plan in place, those are the types of things where you can potentially look at tax mitigation strategies even after you're gone. But it is relatively complex, and it requires dedicating some time into putting a real financial plan together. But that's what we've been able to help people do, because I think the pandemic, kind of like you referred to, the pandemic gave a lot of people a new perspective on life. And in a weird way, it was a good thing that it forced people to do some planning proactively. And so if there's anything good that came out of it, I'd say that would be the one thing.
Yes, kind of a wake-up call in that regard, if you will. Absolutely. Well, I know we're going to take a commercial break in just a moment, but we did have a viewer question. They just want to ask you, Prashant, what is the number one strategy anyone can use to lower taxes? The number one strategy?
It all depends on whether we're trying to lower them today or lower them in the future. If we're talking about lowering your taxes in the future, I love Roth conversions, okay? But they're not right for everybody. And that's why you have to do the requisite analysis, or at least work with a professional who can help you do the requisite analysis to figure out whether or not it's a good strategy for you. So like I said, Roth conversions this year, we've done so many more than we ever have before. And that's because everybody seems like they're concerned about taxes. And it's a great way to create a potentially tax-free retirement.
Well, Prashant, this is the perfect time for us to reopen the phone lines. Would you agree?
Yeah, let's open them up. Let's do it.
To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 833-308-5200. If you have any questions about how to plan for your perfect stress-free retirement, what Prashant is offering you today is a complimentary portfolio review. Now, this offer is available to the first 10 callers only. All you have to do today is pick up the phone and call 833-308-5200. We have to take a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, I'm going to talk to Prashant a little bit about inflation and what that may look like in the future years. Stay tuned.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
And welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia Defazio, and I'm joined today by Prashant Sabapathi of Elite Income Advisors. Prashant, I'd like to spend some time this segment talking to you a little bit about inflation, because obviously it's impacting us, and I'm just kind of going off the fact that my husband and I had a date night recently, and we decided to go to the movies. We hadn't been there in a while. And we get, walked in, everything is kiosk now. There's no people to exchange money with, so we had to learn that. I was like, okay, what's that? But also just thinking about the cost of the movie that evening versus when we used to take our daughter to a matinee, that's changed in 20 years.
It really has.
So let's talk about inflation overall. How can that impact a retiree?
Look, I know that most people out there expect costs to go up, right? Like everyone pretty much has an understanding that costs are going to rise over time. The question is, how fast are they going to rise? Because inflation has been very low the last decade. It's been manageable, it's been okay, and we all understand that those costs are going up. But when we start to see inflation numbers where they're at now, where there feels like they're through the roof, you go out to dinner, you go to the grocery store, and the costs are through the roof. The threat is, what happens if this is our new normal? What happens if inflation goes up by an astronomical number each and every year? Ultimately, that means that if I'm living on a fixed income like Social Security, or if I have a pension that doesn't get a cost of living adjustment, the value of my purchasing power is decreasing every year. And so it may not be a big deal in the first 3 or 5 years of your retirement, but remember, retirement is potentially a 20, 30, 40-year endeavor. We've had people, I've seen people live longer in retirement than they actually did while they were working. So they've been retired for longer than they worked. And that's a cool thing on one hand, but it's also a pretty scary thing on another hand if you're not properly prepared. So don't forget to think about your costs 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the road. Does your financial plan account for inflation over a 15, 20, or 30-year period of time?
When you think about that, you're tying in the two things like you just mentioned. Obviously, you've got inflation, but also people are living longer now today. So how do those two things tie in together, longevity piece and inflation?
Yeah, it's a great point. If you're living longer, and people are, that's a good thing, certainly, but it also means that we're going to require more resources, more assets to be able to live on, to generate the type of income you're going to need to live the way that you want to. And so as the cost of living goes up, if you're on a fixed income that doesn't index for inflation, that does not give you cost of living adjustments, it's a real big concern, especially when we look 15 or 20 years down the road, because if my income stays here and prices go up, how am I going to fill that gap? And it is going to create an income gap. So as you can see, all these topics are very much interconnected. And so when we put a financial plan together, and maybe it runs until your age of 95 to solve the longevity problem, we need to make sure that your assets are positioned properly to not only keep pace with inflation, but outpace inflation over the long term, to ensure that you have enough dollars to be able to live the way that you want to.
Thank you so much, Prashant. We did have a viewer question come in, and I definitely want to ask you this. I think it's a really good one. It says, Prashant, I'm about 10 years away from retiring. I'm thinking about paying off debt, but I'm not sure where to start. What advice do you have for me being 10 years away from retirement?
It all depends what type of debt, the interest that you're paying, what the monthly payments are. All those are very important. I actually did a video series on this some time ago called The 7 Financial Blind Spots, and one of them was, should I pay off my mortgage before I get to retirement? So let's take what we've talked about today. If retirement is truly all about your income, which I very much so believe that it is, are we going to have enough income coming in to service the debt that you had? Okay, because some people, believe it or not, can afford to carry debt into retirement as long as they have enough income to service that debt.
Okay.
Now, most people would love to retire with no debt whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I think that is the most stress-free type of outcome that you can have. But it is possible to retire with debt, whether that's a mortgage or a car payment, or whatever it is. But you have to have enough income coming in reliably. And so when I say reliably, I mean you don't depend on if the market's up, you'll have enough income. If the market's down, you're not going to have enough. That's not what I would classify as a reliable source of income. But if you have enough reliable income coming in, you can absolutely potentially carry debt into retirement. You just have to make sure that you understand how much.
Okay, and then making sure, obviously, that you can enjoy your retirement.
Yeah,
We've talked
yeah,
about
without
that.
a
We
doubt.
don't want to just get by.
Yep.
You want to thrive during those years.
Yeah.
You've worked your whole life to get there.
Yeah, you have to live your most fulfilling life possible. Like when people come in to visit with me, I think a lot of times people come in and they expect us to just ask about all your financial questions. And yes, that is absolutely important. But what I love to do is kind of separate the financial side from the emotional and fun side.
Yeah.
I say, like, Cynthia, if you were to retire, what do you have to be doing to say, I'm living my best life? And it's awesome to hear the answers that we get, whether it's traveling or volunteering or spending more time with kids and grandkids or whatever it is. Those are the types of things that we want to plan for, and we can do that if we have a plan in place.
Okay. Well, Prashant, we have about a minute left in the show. Any final words of wisdom that you want to impart to the viewers today?
Two things. Number one is start today. Okay. If you feel that you're behind in your planning, if you feel that you've been a do-it-yourselfer for your entire life, now is your opportunity to address some of those concerns, okay? If you do feel that you're behind, give us a call. Come in, visit with us, and we'll let you know where you stand. We'll let you know whether or not you're a good fit to work with an advisor like us. So the phone number is 833-308-5200. It's no cost, no obligation. And, when you call us, come visit with us and we'll help you out.
Prashant, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, most specifically, thank you for spending time with us. That number is 833-308-5200. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We look forward to seeing you back here 1 week from today.